All right, today we're going to talk a little bit about this turbine. And for those of you that are looking to get into one or looking to set up one and is having a hard time finding out information, I'm hoping that what I explain here today will help you out. So, this is a jetcopter SX by Star International. Um, Blades are 810 millimeter blades, MAH blades. This is a four servo setup. So when you go to your swash setup on your radio, you're gonna set it up as a 4 servo setup. So from what I've heard on these, 4 servo setup on this helicopter is good for redundancy. In case one fails, you at least have another one. So for the electronics, I'm running a voltage regulator for the electronics. JY611 digital tail servo, and I'm running a JR DSM2 for the receiver. And for batteries, I'm running 2 batteries, one for the ECU for the turbine and one for the receiver. I'm running two cells. These are in parallel, so I increase the capacity, but I keep the voltage. So this is what I'm running, two cells, one for the receiver, one for the ECU for the turbine electronics. So make sure you always check your batteries before flight. Make sure they still have a good amount of charge for the flight. The last time I flew this thing about 3 different times in one day, and I had plenty of power still. So each flight I get about 10 minutes. I can push 11. So I figured, I get a good running time on this. So yeah, just make sure you check your batteries after every flight. You want to check the capacity on it. So the helicopter on a turbine is set up pretty much the same as any helicopter out there, whether it's electric, nitro, gas. You set up your pitch curves the same way, depending on how you want to set it up on your radio. So the throttle on a turbine helicopter in this configuration, there is no throttle control. The only thing you have to do for setup when you set up this PHT3 is you have to learn the radio to the ECU basically. So when you go to the programming and you set up for the first time, all you're doing is teaching the turbine the idle and the full power, and that's it. The rest of the setup is going to be involved in a 3-position toggle switch. I have mine set up here. Basically, this would be considered stop. When you go to start the engine, this will be start. Once the engine is running and is stabilized at idle, you put it back to idle. And then to go take off, you just put it here, full power. When you land, go back to idle after the engine's cooled down. You shut it off and you're done. There is no throttle control here. All you're controlling here is your collective. I have mine set up at mid-stick, 0 degrees of pitch, all the way up to whatever 12-15 degrees of pitch, and I have about 6 degrees of negative pitch. So that's how the throttle is set up on the turbine on this setup. Okay, so on this I have telemetry on this helicopter, which reads back to the radio. The telemetry sensor is on this side here, and all this reads is temperature, engine RPMs, battery voltage for both the engine and the receiver. So it's a really cool feature to have. And the next important thing you need to have when owning a turbine is a GSU. All this is what monitors the hours on the engine and anything you can think of for the engine performance wise is read out through the GSU. This would plug in right here normally. When you're running up your engine, you can read all the data, temperatures. You can run the starter, do ignition tests, do pump tests. You know, you can do your valve test. See, this is a fuel valve, shutoff valve, and this is your propane valve. It'll also do a lot of different. You can change the values on the pump voltage, on the glow plug voltage. A lot of information, very important to have. So keep that in mind when owning a turbine, whether it's a jet or a helicopter or a car or anything. I mean, you got to have that. It's very important. For the fuel, I'm using Jet A, and you have to premix with turbine oil. So I'm using Aeroshell 500, and the mix ratio that I'm using is a quart. This is a quart for every 5 gallons, and it's about 5% by volume, which equals to about 1 liter of oil to 20 liters of fuel. So which I rounded it out to 1 quart for every 5 gallons. And you know, that works for me. So there's different alternatives for fuel. I've heard people using diesel, camping fuel, stuff like that. A lot of different alternatives out there. So you know, you got to do your research and see what works best for you. Jet A for me works great because I can get it for free very easily. So yeah, this is a Propane Start. And the propane that I'm using is the Coleman Power Max. This has been discontinued for many years. I found these on eBay. I bought a bunch of them. They were kind of pricey, but being that this is the original configuration when the helicopters were made, when they used to have this available everywhere. So basically, the fill port on this is this. This basically fits into the tank here. And the tank has the proper pressure to fill the onboard propane tank. So it fills through here, goes through this check valve, goes up here, goes into the tank. As soon as the engine starts, you know, you will hear the check valve open, or the valve open, and it'll inject the propane into the engine, which the glow plug will then fire the propane and ignite the burner. Once the engine has stabilized at a certain RPM, it'll inject the kerosene or Jet A, and by that time the burner is already hot, that it'll burn the Jet A, which caused the engine to start up. So without propane, this engine will not start due to the fact that this is a glow plug. And there is a conversion to convert this to kerosene start. I don't plan on doing that anytime soon. So for glow plugs, from my recent experience, you can pretty much use any glow plug out there. Just keep in mind that whatever glow plug you do use, you have to make sure you check the voltage on it, on your GSU. And the main important part about a glow plug on a turbine is that you have to pull the element out of the glow plug. So here's one, for example. On a turbine, you have to make sure you pull the element out. You got to grab a pick or something and pull the element. If you install this just like this, your engine will not start. You got to make sure that the element is pulled out for the glow plug to ignite the propane on startup. So very important. So, and let's see, fuel. I just replaced all the fuel lines on this. You know, on a turbine, you want to make sure, I mean, as well as the gas and nitro, but if you notice, everything is all safety wired. And I don't want to take any chances of any lines coming off, you know, or having a leak in flight. So it's very important, you know, you check your fuel filters. Here's one here, and there's a sock filter in the main tank, and there's also clunks with filters inside the tanks in here. So very important, you want to make sure that your filters are all been replaced or cleaned. As you can see, there's a lot going on in here. There's a lot of fuel lines. Yeah, you know, this is a JetCat PHT3 engine. There's the fuel pump, gyro. This helicopter weighs around, full fuel, I mean dry, it weighs about 21, so full fuel probably right around 25, 26 pounds. So yeah, it's pretty heavy. So when you're carrying it out to the field to go fly, you know, it gets pretty heavy. So yeah, you know, this thing runs amazing. I've had about 4 hours now. I got it with an hour and a half, and it's been great. I've had a little issues here and there. The main one was the fuel pump started leaking, so I ended up replacing that. I had a glow plug go out due to a hot start, due to the starter stop engaging on startup. So I took care of that problem already, fixed it. Flies great. So all right, yeah, so you know, if you're looking to get into one or build one or set up one or something, you need some help, need some advice, you know, I'll see what I can help out with. So yeah, hopefully I can get a flight video in here soon. All right, happy flying.